Have you ever noticed something strange about relationships? Different partner, different relationship, different beginning, yet somehow the same arguments keep happening. The same fears return. The same feeling that no matter how much someone loves you, it never quite feels like enough. Maybe you've caught yourself thinking, if they just reassured me a little more, I'd finally feel secure. Or perhaps you've looked at another couple and wondered, they look so happy. Why do they keep fighting? According to Carl Jung, the answer may have very little to do with your partner. Instead, it may have everything to do with something much older, because the person you marry can love you deeply, but they cannot heal the child you once were. And once you understand why, you may never look at relationships the same way again. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Take a moment to think about that, because it might explain years of relationship struggles in a single sentence. Many of us believe our problems begin when we meet the wrong person. Jung believed they often begin long before that. Long before the first date. Long before the first kiss. Long before anyone ever says, "I love you." Every one of us carries an invisible emotional history. Some people grew up in homes where love felt safe, predictable, and unconditional. Others grew up constantly trying to earn affection. Some learned that expressing emotions only led to criticism. Others learned that the people they depended on could disappear without warning. As children, we don't choose these experiences, but our minds quietly remember them. Without asking for permission, they become the lens through which we see every future relationship. Here's where Jung's idea becomes almost unsettling. The people we're attracted to may not be completely random. Sometimes we're drawn toward people who unknowingly awaken familiar emotional patterns. Not because they're perfect for us, but because they feel emotionally familiar. Even if that familiarity isn't healthy. Think about it. Have you ever wanted someone to make you finally feel worthy? To silence that little voice telling you you're not enough? To convince you they'll never leave? To erase years of self-doubt with their love? At first, those hopes seem completely reasonable. After all, isn't that what love is supposed to do? Movies tell us that finding the one changes everything. Social media constantly shows couples who seem effortlessly happy. Romantic stories often end the moment two people finally find each other, as if that's where life magically becomes perfect. But real life doesn't end there. That's where it begins. Eventually, the excitement settles. The honeymoon phase fades. Bills need paying. Work becomes stressful. People get tired. Your partner forgets things. They have bad days. Sometimes they disappoint you without meaning to. And that's usually when something unexpected happens. Old emotional wounds begin rising to the surface, not because your partner created them, but because close relationships have a way of revealing parts of ourselves we've spent years trying to ignore. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. The mirror doesn't create your reflection. It simply reveals what's already there. Jung believed relationships work the same way. Your partner doesn't create every insecurity you feel. Many times they simply reveal the insecurities that were quietly waiting beneath the surface. That's why two people can experience the exact same situation and react in completely different ways. Imagine this. You send your partner a message. 10 minutes pass, no reply. One person smiles, puts their phone away, and continues with their day. Another immediately begins imagining the worst. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? Maybe they're losing interest. Maybe they're about to leave. Same message, same silence, completely different emotional worlds. Or imagine your partner arrives home an hour later than expected. They apologize. Traffic was terrible. For one couple, that's the end of the conversation. For another, panic begins. Why didn't they call? Do they even care anymore? What if they're pulling away? The event hasn't changed, only the story inside the mind has. Why? Because we're rarely reacting only to what's happening today. Sometimes we're reacting to experiences that happened years ago. Maybe as a child your feelings were constantly ignored. Maybe someone important left without warning. Maybe affection only came when you behaved perfectly. Without realizing it, today's small disappointment awakens yesterday's emotional pain. And that's exactly what Jung meant by the unconscious. The unconscious isn't some mysterious force hidden deep inside your mind. It's the collection of experiences, beliefs, fears, and emotional habits that continue shaping your life without you even noticing. If you grew up believing your worth depended on making other people happy, you may constantly seek approval from your partner. If conflict once meant rejection, you may avoid difficult conversations altogether. If affection always felt uncertain, you may panic every time your partner simply needs a little space. These reactions don't mean you're weak. They mean your mind learned survival strategies. The problem is that survival strategies are designed to protect us, not necessarily to help us build healthy relationships. And sometimes the very strategies that once kept us emotionally safe become the same habits that quietly damage the relationships we value most. But here's the difficult question Jung invites all of us to ask. If your partner isn't creating every painful emotion, where are those emotions really coming from? Because once you discover the answer, everything begins to change. If you've made it this far, you might already be seeing your own relationships a little differently. Because once we understand that our strongest emotional reactions often come from the past, we stop asking one question: why are they making me feel this way? And we begin asking a far more powerful one: why does this affect me so deeply? That single question can change the direction of an entire relationship. Instead of blaming, you become curious. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin observing yourself. And according to Carl Jung, that's where real healing begins. Imagine your heart is like a bucket with a tiny crack in the bottom. Every compliment fills it. Every hug fills it. Every thoughtful message. Every "I love you." Every act of kindness. For a while, everything feels full. You feel safe. You feel valued. You feel loved. But slowly, the water begins to leak out. So you ask for another compliment. More reassurance. More attention. More affection. Not because your partner doesn't love you, but because the crack was never created by them. It was already there long before they entered your life. No amount of love can permanently fill a wound that only self-awareness can begin to heal. This doesn't mean love isn't important. It absolutely is. A healthy relationship can become one of the safest places you'll ever experience. It can offer encouragement during difficult seasons, comfort during painful moments, acceptance when you feel misunderstood, and someone to celebrate life's victories with. But there's an important difference between support and rescue. Support means walking beside someone. Rescue means carrying them. Many relationships begin to struggle because, without realizing it, we expect one person to become everything. Our therapist, our parent, our source of confidence, our identity, our emotional security, our reason for feeling worthy. That's a weight no human being was ever meant to carry. Eventually, both people become exhausted. One partner keeps searching for reassurance that never seems to last. The other begins wondering, why does nothing I do ever feel like enough? Neither person is the enemy. They're simply trapped inside emotional patterns they haven't yet recognized. This is why Jung believes self-awareness is one of the greatest gifts we can give both ourselves and the people we love. He famously said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens." Think about that for a moment. Looking outside is easy. We blame our partner, we criticize, we convince ourselves that happiness is waiting in the next relationship, the next marriage, the next person, the next beginning. But looking inward requires courage. It means admitting, maybe not every fear I carry belongs to today. Maybe some of my reactions were learned years ago. Maybe healing is also my responsibility. That isn't about blaming yourself. It's about reclaiming your power, because if your peace depends entirely on another person, you'll always feel vulnerable. But when your peace comes from understanding yourself, love transforms. It stops becoming something you desperately chase. It becomes something you freely share. Carl Jung also said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. In other words, when you understand your own fears, you become more patient with someone else's. When you recognize your own insecurities, you're less likely to project them onto the person standing beside you. And that's where mature love begins. Not in perfection, but in awareness. The healthiest relationships aren't built by two flawless people. They're built by two people willing to grow. Two people willing to apologize, to listen, to communicate honestly, to take responsibility for their emotions, and to face uncomfortable truths together instead of pretending they don't exist. Imagine how different relationships would be if, instead of saying, "You need to fix me," we said, "I'm committed to understanding myself, and I'd love for us to grow together." That kind of love isn't built on fantasy. It's built on trust, respect, emotional maturity, and genuine intimacy. So if you've been waiting for the perfect person to finally make you feel complete, remember this: the person you marry can love you deeply. They can hold your hand through difficult seasons. They can comfort you when life feels overwhelming. They can celebrate your victories. They can remind you that you're never alone, but they cannot travel back into your childhood and rewrite the experiences that shaped you. Only you can begin that journey. And perhaps that's the most hopeful part of Jung's message. Your past may explain your emotional patterns, but it doesn't have to define your future. The more you understand yourself, the less your unconscious fears control your relationships. The less you expect someone else to carry wounds they never created, and the more freely you can love, not from fear, not from desperation, but from genuine wholeness. Maybe that's why some couples seem perfect, yet quietly fall apart, and why others face countless challenges, yet somehow grow stronger together. The difference isn't that one couple has fewer problems, it's that one chooses awareness over blame. Because real love isn't about finding someone who completes you. It's about becoming someone who can love fully, consciously, and authentically. And according to Carl Jung, that journey always begins within. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on one question before you leave. What's one emotional pattern in your relationships that you now see in a different light? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone else realize they're not alone. If you enjoyed this video and want more timeless wisdom from Carl Jung and other great thinkers, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching, and remember, the greatest journey you'll ever take isn't toward finding the perfect person. It's toward truly understanding yourself.